To talk to us about the tournament is Owuraku Ampofo. Owuraku, good afternoon. And do you think Nigeria have a point here?
Well, it's a really difficult one because you have to look at the rule book and listen to what Claudio Ranieri has been saying, and he says that from the beginning they were open to allowing their stars to go to the Africa Cup of Nations, and they never disrespected the tournament. However, there were so many changes in the Nigeria team, both the squad and then the administrative position, sacking their coach as well. And essentially, what that meant was that initially, Dennis was not part of Nigeria's initial 37-man squad. That was actually submitted by their former coach. But then in December, they changed it to a 40-man team, and now Dennis was part of the team. However, we're finding out that, there was a deadline that they had to meet in terms of communicating to Watford, and they were not able to do that. So essentially, that transferred power to Watford now, and they just exercised that.
Yeah, Owuraku, you're a sports journalist in Ghana. You must be hugely excited about the forthcoming African Cup of Nations. Do you feel like the tournament is a little disrespected by the English Premier League?
Well, yeah, you look at it from both sides, and I think there is some form of disrespect as to how some of the adjectives that have been used by coaches, some of the commentaries that you've heard, and the reluctance of clubs to also release their players. You look at the Ghanaian team, for instance, and the majority, the core of our team, would be joining the camp in Doha just about 4 or 5 days before the team travels to Cameroon. So essentially, a camp that was supposed to be about 20 days long would see your key players joining in the final week. And so that almost feels like the team coming together for a qualifier rather than, a whole tournament. So there's been some decisions, as I was particularly disappointed with CAF. I didn't expect them to budge and allow players to stay all the way to 3rd January playing a Premier League game before joining up with their camp. I think it's a bit too late, and you wouldn't see that across different major international competitions. However, you also look at the other side, and you have to understand the clubs too. I think what we're not really getting used to is that we need to start having conversations about how star power in African players is increasing is on a rapid rise. So you look at the likes of Sadio Mane, Mohamed Salah, even Emmanuel Dennis. All these players are playing really crucial roles in their teams, and so when clubs have to allow them to leave in the middle of the season, where Watford, for instance, they'll be facing fellow strugglers in Newcastle, Norwich, games where they have to win, allowing their top scorer to leave is a bit difficult for them. So I think it leads to the bigger picture as to, should the AFCON really be happening in January during the season? Should we really have this scenario where clubs have to put their personal interest ahead of everything else, and also players have to choose between the clubs that actually take care of them in terms of their welfare and the country that they come from? So I think that's the bigger picture that we have to look at. In Egypt, we saw it happen in the summer, where the weather was all right, but then AFCON usually happens in January because it rains a lot during the summer period where everyone is on a break.
With the tournament itself, it kicks off on the 9th of January. Algeria, current holders, do you have them as favourites going into this?
Yeah, I think everyone has Algeria as their favourite, and that's because of how well they've performed prior to the 2019 tournament, and then also after the tournament, you look at how well they performed in the World Cup qualifiers, and they look like a team that's not slowing down, and they're still on their really long, extensive, unbeaten run. And if you even look at their performances in the FIFA Arab Cup that was just played recently, where they didn't even have a majority of their key players, but they still went ahead to win that tournament as well. So they do have strength in depth, and you look at the additions of Benrahma, who would be probably more influential this time in the tournament, and you would expect them to be favourites. It's really their title to lose if you look at it. But I think there would be good enough competition this time round. You look around Morocco themselves, even without Hakim Ziyech, they've been pretty organized, and I think that they were the most impressive team in the World Cup qualifiers for me. Very solid unit who barely just conceded one goal in the FIFA World Cup qualifier. So I think you look at Algeria, Morocco might probably challenge in there. I had Nigeria up there, but without Osimhen and then Emmanuel Dennis, I think things have changed a bit.
Yeah.
And I'm tipping maybe Algeria, Morocco, and one West African country. Maybe my Ghanaian bias may come in, but between Ghana and I think Cote d'Ivoire, one might challenge one of these, giants from the North African countries.
That sounded biased then a little bit, Owuraku, but you're allowed to do. Just before you go, well, we'll, obviously we have the song "It's Coming Home, It's Coming Home, Football's Coming Home." I don't know if you know that one, Owuraku. Yeah. Do you in Ghana? Do you have any chants along those lines?
Well, we don't really have a chant along the same lines, but I think it's more of the same sentiments that we share. We also believe that we were once the kings of, the Africa Cup of Nations. If you look at the 1960s, the 1970s, we dominated the competition, almost reaching the final every time. Winning it for 4 times, and then all of a sudden it's been 40 whole years without winning the trophy. So
Yeah.
it's a mixed bag in terms of the feeling, but it's almost as if it's reached a point where people have almost given up. And there was a lot more optimism when the team was getting to the semifinals and the final in much more recent times. However, performances have dwindled. We've lost out on a lot of key players, and the upcoming talent, it feels like they would need a bit of time. So if Ghana wins this AFCON, trust me, it would be a surprise to a lot more people. But people also have that part of their mind saying that, it's been so long. And if we really still want to acclaim ourselves as giants in Africa, then we have to be winning it sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm Ghana all the way. I'm going to adopt you as my team, Owuraku, because I like you so much. I think you're such a brilliant journalist and a brilliant guest that I am Ghana all day long.
I already have a Ghana shirt.
You've got a Ghana shirt. Yeah. I'm going to have to get one. This is absolutely... Thanks so much for joining us. Happy New Year.
All right, same to you too.
Thanks so much. There we are. That was Owuraku Ampofo, who's a sports data journalist in Ghana, looking ahead to the African Cup of Nations.